I am Job, a man from the land of Uz. Once, my life was filled with blessings beyond measure. This is my journey from prosperity to desolation, and ultimately to restoration by the hand of the Almighty.
There lived a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and shunned evil. And 7 sons and 3 daughters were born to him. Also, his possessions were 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a very large household, so that this man was the greatest of all the people of the East. And his sons would go and feast in their houses, each on his appointed day, and would send and invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. So it was, when the days of feasting had run their course, that Job would send and sanctify them, and he would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said,
It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts.
Thus Job did regularly. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan,
From where do you come?
So Satan answered the Lord and said,
From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking back and forth on it.
Then the Lord said to Satan,
Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil?
So Satan answered the Lord and said,
Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him, around his household, and around all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But now, stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face.
And the Lord said to Satan,
Behold, all that he has is in your power. Only do not lay a hand on his person.
So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Now there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. And a messenger came to Job and said,
The oxen were ploughing, and the donkeys feeding beside them, when the Sabeans raided them and took them away. Indeed, they have killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you.
While he was still speaking, another also came and said,
The fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to tell you.
While he was still speaking, another also came and said,
The Chaldeans formed 3 bands, raided the camels and took them away, yes, and killed the servants with the edge of the sword. And I alone have escaped to tell you.
While he was still speaking, another also came and said,
Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and suddenly a great wind came from across the wilderness and struck the 4 corners of the house, and it fell on the young people, and they are dead. And I alone have escaped to tell you.
Then Job arose, tore his robe, and shaved his head. And he fell to the ground and worshipped. And he said,
Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.
In all this Job did not sin, nor charge God with wrong. Again there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said to Satan,
From where do you come?
Satan answered the Lord and said,
From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking back and forth on it.
Then the Lord said to Satan,
Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil, and still he holds fast to his integrity, although you incited me against him to destroy him without cause?
So Satan answered the Lord and said,
Skin for skin. Yes, all that a man has he will give for his life. But stretch out your hand now, and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will surely curse you to your face.
And the Lord said to Satan,
Behold, he is in your hand, but spare his life."
So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and struck Job with painful boils from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. And he took for himself a potsherd with which to scrape himself, while he sat in the midst of the ashes. Then his wife said to him,
Do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die.
But he said to her,
You speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity?
In all this Job did not sin with his lips. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this adversity that had come upon him, each one came from his own place: Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. For they had made an appointment together to come and mourn with him and to comfort him. And when they raised their eyes from afar and did not recognize him, they lifted their voices and wept, and each one tore his robe and sprinkled dust on his head toward heaven. So they sat down with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his grief was very great. Job went through a lot of pain, but he never spoke against the Lord, as his friends and wife did. Sometime later, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, Job's friend,
My wrath is aroused against you and your 2 friends, for you have not spoken of me what is right, as my servant Job has. Now therefore, take for yourselves 7 bulls and 7 rams. Go to my servant Job, and offer up for yourselves a burnt offering. And my servant Job shall pray for you, for I will accept him, lest I deal with you according to your folly, because you have not spoken of me what is right, as my servant Job has.
So Eliphaz the Temanite and Bildad the Shuhite and Zophar the Naamathite went and did as the Lord commanded them, for the Lord had accepted Job. And the Lord restored Job's losses when he prayed for his friends. Indeed, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Then all of his brothers, all his sisters, and all those who had been his acquaintances before came to him and ate food with him in his house. And they consoled him and comforted him for all the adversity that the Lord had brought upon him. Each one gave him a piece of silver, and each a ring of gold. Now the Lord blessed the latter days of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he called the name of the first Jemimah, the name of the second Keziah, and the name of the third Karen-Happuch. In all the land were found no women so beautiful as the daughters of Job, and their father gave them an inheritance among their brothers. After this, Job lived 140 years, and saw his children and grandchildren for 4 generations. So Job died, old and full of days. Job's ultimate restoration shows that suffering is not the end of the story. God is a God of restoration and hope, capable of bringing blessings, even after the darkest times.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.